Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
The Alabama men's basketball team picked up a statement victory on Saturday in front of a sellout crowd at Holcomb Coliseum in the Big 12 SEC Challenge. Colin Sexton out-dueled Oklahoma star freshman Trae Young, and Herbert Jones put together a big all-around game, including great defense on Young, leading the Crimson Tide to an 80-73 win. Bama is back at home tomorrow night and back in the SEC against Mizzou. And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Tider Insider TV, presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock, alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm WVOA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris, and tonight from Buffalo Rock, Diet Pepsi is the flavor. I got to be careful opening this. I didn't realize that I sliced my finger open today, Rodney, so I'm working a finger short here. I got it. Oh, man, you can't beat that. The next time you're at your local grocery store, pick up some great Pepsi products from Buffalo Rock. So Alabama basketball gets a big victory on the hardwood, but the Tide still has work to do to earn an NCAA tournament berth, which obviously is the goal. Alabama gets back into conference play this week against Missouri at home, and then crucial road games at Florida and Mississippi State. It's a big stretch, and the Tide has to put the Oklahoma win in the rearview mirror. That's the subject of tonight's Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports Coach Talk segment.
The approach is continue to protect our home court. We'll have a chance to try to redeem ourselves in some road games down the road against some really good team. But if we, even for 1 second, think about Florida or think about Mississippi State today, we're not going to be successful.
Well, Alabama's 29th in the RPI. That's awesome. Anytime you're in the top 30, that's really good. And you would think that alone would be enough to get into the NCAA tournament. But as Coach Johnson said, there is still work to be done. And if the Tide drops several of its remaining games, it could be on the outside looking in. Rodney, at this point in the season, with where this team is at this year, 14-7 overall, 5-3 in the SEC, how do you think Alabama fans are feeling? You think they feel pretty good about this team?
I think they feel real good. You beat Oklahoma, the number 12 team in the country, coming off of, a win over Kansas last week. I mean, no, I can tell you on TiderInsider.com, they feel really good about this team. Now, again, they're a little bit flaky. You know how Alabama fans can be. I mean, they're up and down, and this basketball team's been a little bit up and down.
No doubt about it. They have been. Consistency is what they're striving for, but they have shown the talent. Now they're getting the experience. There's no reason to believe that this team won't continue to improve, and if they do, they could be a dangerous team come tournament time if they get in, Rodney.
Yeah, real dangerous. Again, I think what Coach Johnson said is correct. You have to focus on the next step, and that's one thing that you really have to, when you're dealing with a lot of young players, a lot of inexperienced players, whatever sport it is, it's always difficult to make sure, especially after a big win, to keep the focus, keep their feet grounded.
All right, the Alabama men's basketball team tomorrow night, 8 p.m. tip at Holcomb Coliseum against Mizzou, then on the road for games at Florida and Mississippi State. Now let's move on to football. Alabama added a graduate transfer kicker, Austin Jones of Temple. We've heard this before. Jones will walk on with the Crimson Tide and will compete with Joseph Bulovas, who was recruited last year but couldn't beat out Papanastos this year. Now, this is a guy going to remind you of Papanastos a little bit. I think he's very accurate on shorter kicks. He does not have a ton of range, or at least that's what it appears to me. Your thoughts on the addition of Jones? I mean, finding a kicker seems to be an ongoing saga for Alabama football.
Yeah, and again, as a blue shirt last year, we didn't expect Bulovas to play. But I'll tell you this, Austin Jones has some pretty good credentials.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, 50 of 67 in his career at Temple, so really good. Of course, I think he was injured last year. So, now he has the opportunity to spend another year somewhere else, and he's chosen to come to Alabama. Yeah,
and he'll add some competition to that kicking battle, that's for sure. Well, we're 8 days out and waiting possibly on 8 names. National Signing Day, the second one, set for Wednesday, February 7th. A reminder that we'll have our full Tider Insider Signing Day special, as we always do, 3:30, live from the Red Elephant Club meeting at the north end zone of Bryant-Denny Stadium that day. But just over a week away, Rodney, what are you looking for in terms of signing day? I know you feel like Alabama's going to finish with a really nice haul here at the end.
Yeah, I think they're going to finish really strong, Gary. And, a lot of people, we heard it all season long about why is Alabama struggling recruiting? Well, let me tell you, they're going to finish really fast. I think this is going to be one of the guys right here. Justin Ross, some people think might be one of the top 1-2 players in the state of Alabama from Phoenix City. Tremendous wide receiver at 6'4", 200 pounds. So I really like him, Gary, and I think that, again, Clemson's in the mix and other schools, and he visited Auburn last weekend, but I think that would be a really big pickup for Alabama.
Another receiver the Tide wants from Texas, Jalen Waddle.
Jalen Waddle is the real deal. You're talking about having a little bit of David Palmer in him. There's no doubt that he's got David Palmer in him. And look at him there. Look at his ability to elude defenders. The guy can make people miss in a small area. He's big time. From Bel Air, Texas, Alabama, Texas A&M on him.
Defensively, speaking of Texas, Bobby Brown is committed to Alabama, but he was committed to Texas A&M. He's visiting there this weekend. How concerned should Alabama fans be?
Well, if he visits there, if he takes that unofficial visit, I mean, you're always concerned by the home state school. But right now I feel confident that Bobby Brown plans to stick with Alabama, and he's at a need position. He's a great player. There you see him there. He's got all kinds of potential. I think when you're talking about being developed, he's a guy that can develop into a really big-time player.
And, of course, secondary is a need position for Alabama. They're basically losing the entire secondary to the NFL or to graduation. Patrick Surtain, Tyson Campbell, a couple of high school teammates that Alabama would like to add on signing day.
I tell you what now, I'd keep my eye real close to Patrick Surtain. I know a lot of people thought LSU. I'd really keep an eye on him. He might be the #1 defensive back or corner in the country. Tyson Campbell, his teammate, some people think he might be the best. Georgia's certainly very strongly in the mix with Tyson Campbell, as is Miami. But I think Alabama's got a shot with him as well.
And there are others to watch as well. Malik Ingram, a defensive lineman from Huntsville, is high on Alabama's radar too. And there are some others that Alabama is still recruiting. But again, National Signing Day, a week from tomorrow. We'll have it covered at 3:30 on the Tider Insider Signing Day special. Well, still to come on Tider Insider Television, we'll recap Saturday's Senior Bowl, where 4 Alabama players contributed. Plus, Alabama baseball is back. Hear from new head coach Brad Bohannon. And coming up, we're welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. There's the phone number on your screen. As always, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Or email us at TITV@WVUA23.com. Or send us a tweet using the hashtag TITV. We're back with more right after this. Let's check in on the Senior Bowl, and the South team, led by a number of Alabama players, took home the trophy. J.K. Scott was probably the star for the Tide, booming 6 punts for nearly 300 yards, including a 60-yarder. Bradley Bozeman anchored the line for much of the game, and Levi Wallace and Deshaun Hand contributed 3 tackles and a sack on defense. The South winning big, 45-16. The NFL Draft gets underway April 26th. Welcome back to TITV. Gary Harris alongside Rodney Orr. Last season was a forgettable one for Alabama baseball. There's no denying that. But the Crimson Tide is entering a new season now with a new head coach, and there is reason for optimism. Bama opened spring practice last Friday. The team opens its season on February 16th. Alabama returns a good portion of its offensive position players, and even though there's some holes in the pitching staff, Jake Walters is back for his senior season. So it has made the transition for Coach Bohannon much easier.
We have a lot of experience. We have 40 or 46 home runs back from last year. No matter who we end up playing opening day, there's going to be a lot of juniors and seniors out there. And no matter what level you're at, experience is vital. So it's going to be nice to have a bunch of older kids out there on the field.
The difference is guys want to come out here and get better. Last year it was kind of like we were forced to come out here, and some people dreaded it, some people just love baseball, so we liked coming out here. But this year guys are like, hey, we got to make a move. We got to go now.
It's always easy to feel optimistic about a team before the season starts, but the truth of the matter is, Rodney, this is a team that still isn't going to have the talent level of the top teams in the league. But last year, a forgettable season, but they did manage to sweep Auburn at Auburn, so you know there's some talent on the roster. What are reasonable expectations for Coach Bohannon in his first season? Maybe just to get to Hoover for the SEC tournament, which they couldn't do last year, or to get to a regional? What do you think? Well,
more than that, I think it's exciting to be starting a new era of Alabama baseball. When you're talking about, Brad Bohannon is a guy that, Gary, with his experience as a recruiter and the success that they've had on with some of the programs that he's been in, I think that's what's really exciting about this. I think he's young, he's enthusiastic, and I think he brings a lot as a talent evaluator. So when you look at the Alabama program, it's starting something that I believe is new and that I think will be very successful.
Yeah, Hunter Alexander was talking about making it fun again, and for whatever reason last year under Greg Goff, it didn't work, okay? Mm-hmm. So you move on. But I do think one of the keys to playing baseball is having fun. Even though you're working to get better, it needs to be enjoyable for you. So if this team is excited about what they're doing, right there alone, there should be more reason for optimism, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I just sense, you sense about Brad Bohannon, Gary, and the success he's had at other programs, you know, as an assistant coach and a great recruiter,
yep,
great talent value. Recruiter. All of those things together, I just think when you start looking at the future, this is the first step.
That's right. And again, the season starts February 16th. Staying on the baseball front, multi-sport star Keith Holcomb is back with the team and is expected to play this season. Of course, Holcomb is a linebacker for the Crimson Tide football team, but he's played each of the past 2 seasons as an outfielder on the baseball squad as well. This season, after another long run in football, Holcomb was ready to go for Coach Bohannon as soon as he got back from Atlanta.
See, the game was Monday night. We had our first workouts on Wednesday, and on Thursday he had his hand taped from blisters from hitting too much. You know, Keith, he's done a great job. He's really mature and just brings a physicality and level of athleticism and maturity that's good for our club. He's really fun to work with.
And Rodney, in this era of one sport specialization, don't you enjoy seeing a guy who wants to play more than one sport and can?
Yeah, he is, and very talented. Yeah. I mean, when you're talking about left-handed batter, elite speed to first base, he's a really talented player. If he focused strictly on baseball, sky's the limit.
Of course, pretty good football player, too. Well, coming up next, an update on Alabama gymnastics as the team gets ready for its annual Power of Pink meet. And we'll be welcoming your phone calls. Go ahead and call in now so you can get through 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Get lined up for us now, or email us at the address on your screen, or you can tweet at us. Brandon will be checking those tweets, but use the hashtag TITV. We'll return in a couple of minutes here on Tider Insider TV. Picked up a win last week. That's the good news, but fell 3 spots in the NCAA rankings. That's the bad news. Alabama edged Missouri. Tide had a score of 195.850, but the Tide had some uncharacteristic mistakes on floor, beam, and bars. Now, this Friday is the annual Power of Pink meet against 8th-ranked Arkansas at Coleman Coliseum. Well, we're back and ready to head to the Daniel Moore New Life Art Hotline. And first up tonight is Rick over in Brent. Good evening, Rick.
How are y'all tonight?
Very well.
Yeah, I've got 3 questions. I want to know is the guy who collapsed on the field, is he still with the team? And what's our overtime record? I think we're on the losing side there. And have we ever tore down a goalpost during a championship? Because I don't think we have, but this guy keeps on arguing with me.
All right, Rick, let's run him down. Kyrie McDonald, as far as I'm aware, is still on the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And going to be ready to go for spring. Alabama's overtime record, I'd have to look it up, Rick. I don't know. If you think they've got a losing record, they may very well have. Of course, they've won a real important one in the national championship game. As far as the goalpost, I know what you're referring to. I have always said that Alabama's never torn down a goalpost. But there are some pictures that I've seen from the Sugar Bowl, Rodney, that shows at least some Alabama fans on a goalpost. Have you ever seen that picture?
I don't think I have.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's doctored or what it is, but I've never witnessed it in person. I can assure you of that, Rick. I have seen some pictures of a goalpost looking like it was coming down with Alabama fans.
Well, you remember the 1990 Alabama-Auburn game.
Right.
Had that field not been protected, those goalposts might have come down.
Yeah, but it was protected, and they didn't.
Legion Field.
Unlike at Auburn, where even if it's protected, they're coming after them. But, so I don't know. I haven't seen it with my own eyes, but like you, Rick, I've been told that Alabama did, in one of the Sugar Bowl wins, tear down a goalpost, but I don't know for sure. All right, let's go to Springfield and talk with JJ. JJ, welcome into the program. JJ, you there? All right, JJ's gone, and I don't know anything about Michigan decommit. So let's talk to Gary, who's on an email. Send us an email, Gary from Helena, wanting to know about Herb Jones and will he go to the NBA after this year. Gary, I don't think so. Avery Johnson, interestingly enough, after the game on Saturday, was asked about all those NBA scouts, 58 of them, what they thought of Herb Jones. And Coach Avery Johnson said, you know what? I'm his NBA scout. and I'm in college. He don't need to be worried about anything to do with the NBA. He's got a lot of improvement to make here. No, he's not headed to the NBA. He's not ready. He is a very talented, multi-skilled athlete. You're watching him right here. Long, athletic, can defend, can get his own shot, but he's got to mature physically, and he's got a lot of room for improvement. So he's going to be back, and he's going to be a really good player for Alabama in the future. All right, coming up next, it's turning into a historic year for Alabama tennis. We'll have the details on both Crimson Tide programs and their incredible starts, and more of your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Phone lines are open right now on the Daniel Moore New Life Art Hotline at 205-348-9882. Call in now, and we'll get to you. We'll be back with more of Tider Insider TV right after this. The Alabama men's and women's tennis teams are combined 15-0 to start the 2018 season. The men's 8-0 record, the best start since 2003. It's a particularly impressive opening for the men because they only won 11 matches all last year. Both teams are back in action this weekend. Both are very good. Let's go right back to the Daniel Moore New Life Art phone lines, and BT is here in Tuscaloosa waiting to talk to us. BT, I know you won't hang up. What's going on, man?
Not much, Gary. How about you? How y'all doing, Rodney and Gary?
Very well, BT.
What I'm going to ask is, talking about stretch games, you're going to have games that wins, that down the stretch. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about, Gary?
Absolutely, BT. Yeah, I mean, most of these games in conference play are going to be tight games, competitive games, and down the stretch, you need to be playing well. That's something the committee looks at, those last few games of the regular season leading into the conference tournaments. Alabama needs a strong finish. They actually were in position to get in the tournament the last 2 years, Rodney, and didn't finish strong. Mm-hmm. They'll be looking to improve on that this year.
I think that's the motivation. That's the focus. Again, you're talking about a young team, Gary, and I think that's the challenge Avery Johnson's going to have down the stretch that BT was talking about is, really keeping focus, consistency.
All right. Thank you, BT, for the phone call. Let's stay here in Tuscaloosa as we go back to the Daniel Moore New Life Art Hotline and talk with Ella. Ella, welcome into the program. How are you? Ella. All right, we're losing people tonight. Wanted us to comment on the softball team. I don't know exactly what you wanted us to comment on, but softball is right around the corner, just like baseball, Ella. Alabama was last year a little bit up and down, but in the postseason, they went to Florida, won the first game of that Super Regional, and came with just in an eyelash of getting back to the Women's College World Series. Much like football here, softball, that's the expectation. The Women's College World Series, that's the goal every year. Rodney, I think it's the goal this year. Alexis Osorio is back as the #1 pitcher, not just at Alabama, but one of the top handful of pitchers in the country. Now, they've got to find a second pitcher to complement her. Light-up-wise, I think they're going to be really good on defense, and I think they're going to be better swinging the bats this year, which was probably the one aspect of their club last year that wasn't up to par. They probably just didn't hit well enough. Mm-hmm. I think they'll be improved in that area this year.
Yeah, there was a lot of complaining. You remember down the stretch last year, a lot of complaining about the hitting. I'm talking about from fans, and then you watch at the end, and Alabama, makes it back to the College World Series, and he always recruits well. You remember when we had him on the show, Patrick Murphy, last year. He talked about how excited he was about his recruiting class that was coming in, and then down the road he's got a couple of more really good recruiting classes he's putting together. So Alabama softball is going to continue to be really good. Yeah,
one of the most consistent programs in the country. Let's stay on the phones and talk with Rich over in Hoover. Rich, welcome into the show.
Yes. Could you tell me, has Coach Saban hired a defensive coordinator yet? Head defensive coordinator.
Okay, Rich. No announcement on a defensive coordinator yet. Tosh Lapoy, who's been on the staff, and Pete Golding, who is new to the staff. We believe there's a chance, again, nothing official, they might be named co-defensive coordinators. That's something that we've seen in the past at Alabama. But, again, we don't know for sure. Mm-hmm. But those two young coaches are both in line to possibly be co-coordinators, Ronnie, from what I'm hearing.
Right. Well, and I would say this. Tosh Lapoy obviously had a co-defensive coordinator title last year, although Jeremy Pruitt was the defensive coordinator. So you would expect that he would probably at least keep that title,
right,
the co. So, we'll see what happens. But Pete Golding, of course, who was hired from UT San Antonio, did a fantastic job there improving their defenses over 2 years from 101 to one of the top 5 defenses in the country, Gary. He's obviously been a defensive coordinator as well, so he has that experience.
All right, let's go to Anderson. Real quickly, Harold, what's going on? We got to go fast. Harold, You with us?
ESPN got us ranked number 4 in recruiting. Do you think we'll stay there or we'll move up into the top 2?
Hey, Harold, yeah, good call. If ESPN's got them 4, I've seen some other people that have them at 5 or 6 or whatever. I think Alabama has a chance to finish second. I think they could jump that far. Certainly, I feel like they've got a chance to have a top 3 class.
Well, it's not out of the realm of possibility they could be number 1.
Wow.
It would take a real powerful finish, but, you know, I do agree with Gary. I think Alabama, Harold, is going to be 2 or 3 probably when it's all said and done.
All right, thanks for all the phone calls tonight on the Daniel Moore New Life Art Hotline. Thanks for the emails as well. Still to come, Nick Saban dances and Julio Jones disses the Georgia Bulldogs. We'll be back after this. You don't see this every day. Nick Saban breaking it down on the dance floor. The Alabama head coach was talking with the recruit, and the family was there, and the Cupid Shuffle broke out, and Saban showed some rhythm, man. I mean, he's not just out there mechanically moving along. I mean, he's got it. You know, he talks about he and Miss Terry used to be able to tear up the dance floor and cut a rug back in the day, and he shows you he still can. Saban also recently opened, or is opening, part of a new Mercedes dealership in Irondale. The coach continues to find success in the car business as well as in football, and so too his former player. Julio Jones took notice, and Julio Jones announced today a new Mazda Kia dealership in Tuscaloosa. Julio Jones Kia, Julio Jones Mazda. He'll basically take over the Carlock dealership, and he's going to have it all Julio Jones. At the introductory press conference today, Julio admitted he fell asleep during Alabama's national championship win, and here was his justification for that.
It's kind of hard to kind of stay up and watch them because I have to get my proper sleep to go out and perform the way I need to go out and perform. And I want to go out and perform for you guys. You know, I can't go out there and put out bad stuff. I'm from Alabama. I can't go out there and put out some Georgia. Oh. That's too far. It's too soon. That might be too soon.
And our shirts and ties tonight from the Locker Room in downtown Tuscaloosa, home of the original elephant wear. Get by and see them. That's going to do it for the show. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Good night, everyone.